Bible in a Year Live Chronological Project, Week 32, Day 6, The Message. Introduced to the Terrors of Death. This is the message of God the Master to Tyre. Won't the ocean islands shake at the crash of your collapse, at the groans of your wounded, at your mayhem and massacre? All up and down the coast, the princes will come down from their thrones, take off their royal robes and fancy clothes, and wrap themselves in sheer terror. They'll sit on the ground, shaken to the core, horrified at you. Then they'll begin chanting a funeral song over you. Sunk to the bottom of the sea, famous city on the sea. Power of the seas, you and your people, intimidating everyone who lived in your shadows. But now the islands are shaking at the sound of your crash, ocean islands in tremors from the impact of your fall. The message of God the Master. When I turn you into a wasted city, a city empty of people, a ghost town, and when I bring up the great ocean deeps and cover you, then I'll push you down among those who go to the grave, the long, long dead. I'll make you live there in the grave and old ruins with the buried dead. You'll never see the land of the living again. I'll introduce you to the terrors of death, and that'll be the end of you. They'll send out search parties for you, but you'll never be found. Decree of God the Master. Tyre, gateway to the sea. God's message came to me. You, son of man, raise a funeral song over Tyre. Tell Tyre, gateway to the sea, merchant to the world, trader among the far-off islands. This is what God the Master says. You boast, Tyre, I am the perfect ship, stately, handsome. You ruled the high seas from a real beauty, crafted to perfection. Your planking came from Mount Hermon junipers. A Lebanon cedar supplied your mast. They made your oars from sturdy Bashan oats. Cypress from Cyprus, inlaid with ivory, was used for the decks. Your sail and flag were of colorful embroidered linen from Egypt. Your purple deck awnings also came from Cyprus. Men of Sidon and Arvad pulled the oars. Your seasoned seamen, O Tyre, were the crew. Ship's carpenters were old stalls from Byblos. All the ships of the sea and their sailors clustered around you to barter for your goods. Your army was composed of soldiers from Paras, Lud, and Put, elite troops in uniformed splendor. They put you on the map. Your city police were imported from Arvad, Helek, and Gamad. They hung their shields from the city walls, a final, perfect touch to your beauty. Tarshish carried on business with you because of your great wealth. They worked for you, trading in silver, iron, tin, and lead for your products. Greece, Tubal, and Meshech did business with you, trading slaves and bronze for your products. Beth Togarmah traded work horses, war horses, and mules for your products. The people of Rhodes did business with you. Many far-off islands traded with you in ivory and ebony. Edom did business with you because of all your goods. They traded for your products with agates, purple textiles, embroidered cloth, fine linen, coral, and rubies. Judah and Israel did business with you. They traded for your products with premium wheat, millet, honey, oil, and balm. Damascus, attracted by your vast array of products and well-stocked warehouses, carried on business with you, trading in wine from Helbon and wool from Zahar. Danites and Greeks from Yizal traded with you, using wrought iron, cinnamon, and spices. Dedan traded with you for saddle blankets. Arabia and all the Bedouin sheikhs of Kedar traded lambs, rams, and goats with you. Traders from Sheba and Ramah in South Arabia carried on business with you in premium spices, precious stones, and gold. Haran, Kenah, and Eden from the east in Assyria and Midian traded with you, bringing elegant clothes, dyed textiles, and embroidered carpets to your bazaars. The great Tarshish ships were your freighters, importing and exporting. Oh, it was a big business for you, trafficking the seaways. Your sailors now mightily, taking you into the high seas. Then a storm out of the east shatters your ship in the ocean deep. Everything sinks. Your rich goods and products, sailors and crew, ships, carpenters and soldiers, sink to the bottom of the sea. Total shipwreck. The cries of your sailors reverberate on shore. Sailors everywhere abandon ship. Veteran seamen swim for dry land. They cry out in grief, a choir of bitter lament over you. They smear their faces with ashes, shave their heads, wear rough burlap, wildly keening their loss. They raise their funeral song. Who on the high seas is like Tyre? As you crisscross the seas with your products, you satisfied many peoples. Your worldwide trade made Earth's kings rich, and now you're battered to bits by the waves, sunk to the bottom of the sea, and everything you've bought and sold has sunk to the bottom with you. Everyone on shore looks on it in terror. The hair of kings stands on end, their faces drawn and haggard. The buyers and sellers of the world throw out their hands. This horror can't happen. Oh, this has happened. The money has gone to your head. God's message came to me. Son of man, tell the prince of Tyre, this is what God the Master says. Your heart is proud, going around saying, I am a God. I sit on God's divine throne, ruling the sea. You, a mere mortal, not even close to being a God, a mere mortal trying to be a God. Look, you think you're smarter than Daniel? No enigmas can stump you. Your sharp intelligence made you world wealthy. You piled up gold and silver in your banks. You used your head well, worked good deals, made a lot of money, but the money has gone to your head, swelled your head. What a big head. Therefore, God the Master says, because you're acting like a God, pretending to be a God, I'm giving fair warning. I'm bringing strangers down on you, the most vicious of all nations. They'll pull their swords and make hash of your reputation for knowing it all. They'll puncture the balloon of your God pretensions. They'll bring you down from your self-made pedestal and bury you in the deep blue sea. Will you protest to your assassins? You can't do that. I'm a God. To them, you're a mere mortal. They're killing a man, not a God. They'll die like a stray dog, killed by strangers, because I said so. Decree of God the Master. God's message came to me. Son of man, raise a funeral song over the king of Tyre. Tell him, a message from God the Master. You had everything going for you. You were in Eden, God's garden. You were dressed in splendor, your robe studded with jewels, carnelian, peridot, and moonstone, beryl, onyx, and jasper, sapphire, turquoise, and emerald, all in settings of engraved gold. A robe was prepared for you the same day you were created. You were the anointed cherub. I placed you on the mountain of God. You strolled in magnificence among the stones of fire. From the day of your creation, you were sheer perfection, and then, imperfection, evil was detected in you. In much buying and selling, you turned violent. You sinned. I threw you, disgraced, off the mountain of God. I threw you out, you, the anointed angel cherub. No more strolling among the gems of fire for you. Your beauty went to your head. You corrupted wisdom by using it to get worldly fame. I threw you to the ground, sent you sprawling before an audience of kings, and let them gloat over your demise. By sin after sin after sin, by your corrupt ways of doing business, you defiled your holy places of worship. So I set a fire around and within you. I burned you up. I reduced you to ashes. All anyone sees now when they look for you is ashes, a pitiful mound of ashes. All who once knew you now throw up their hands. This can't have happened. This has happened. God's message came to me. Son of man, confront Sidon. Preach against it. Say, message from God the Master. Look, I'm against you, Sidon. I intend to be known for who I truly am among you. They'll know that I am God when I set things right and reveal my holy presence. I'll order an epidemic of disease there, along with murder and mayhem in the streets. People will drop dead right and left as war presses in from every side. Then they'll realize that I mean business, that I am God. No longer will Israel have to put up with their thistle and thorn neighbors who have treated them so contemptuously, and they also will realize that I am God. God the Master says, when I gather Israel from among the people who they've been scattered, and put my holiness on display among them with all the nations looking on, then they'll live in their own land that I gave to my servant Jacob. They'll live there in safety. They'll build houses. They'll put vineyards living in safety. Meanwhile, I'll bring judgment on all the neighbors who have treated them with such contempt, and they'll realize that I am God. The revolt dates from the 9th year and 10th month of Zedekiah's reign. Nebuchadnezzar set out for Jerusalem immediately with a full army. He set up camp and sealed off the city by building siege mounds around it. The city was under siege for 19 months until the 11th year of Zedekiah. By the 4th month of Zedekiah's 11th year, on the 9th day of the month, the famine was so bad that there wasn't so much as a crumb of bread for anyone. Then there was a breakthrough. At night, under cover of darkness, the entire army escaped through an opening in the wall. It was the gate between the two walls above the king's garden. They slipped through the lines of the Babylonians who surrounded the city and headed for the Jordan on the Araba Valley Road. But the Babylonians were in pursuit of the king, and they caught up with him in the plains of Jericho. By then, Zedekiah's army had deserted and was scattered. The Babylonians took Zedekiah prisoner and marched him off to the king of Babylon at Riblah, then tried and sentenced him on the spot. Zedekiah's sons were executed right before his eyes. The summary murder of his sons was the last thing he saw, for they then blinded him. Securely handcuffed, he was hauled off to Babylon. By the 4th month of Zedekiah's 11th year, on the 9th day of the month, the famine was so bad that there wasn't so much as a crumb of bread for anyone. Then the Babylonians broke through the city walls. Under cover of the night darkness, the entire Judean army fled through an opening in the wall. It was the gate between the two walls above the king's garden. They slipped through the lines of the Babylonians who surrounded the city and headed for the Jordan into the Araba Valley. But the Babylonians were in full pursuit. They caught up with them in the plains of Jericho, and by then Zedekiah's army had deserted and was scattered. The Babylonians captured Zedekiah and marched him off to the king of Babylon at Riblah in Hamath. He tried and sentenced him on the spot. The king of Babylon then killed Zedekiah's sons right before his eyes. The summary murder of his sons was the last thing Zedekiah saw, for they then blinded him. The king of Babylon followed that up by killing all the officials of Judah. Securely handcuffed, Zedekiah was hauled off to Babylon. The king of Babylon threw him in prison, where he stayed until the day he died. Bad news, not good news. In the 9th year and 10th month of Zedekiah, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came with his entire army and laid siege to Jerusalem. In the 11th year and 4th month, on the 9th day of Zedekiah's reign, they broke through into the city. All the officials of the king of Babylon came and set up themselves as a ruling council from the middle gate. Negur-Shahazar of Semagar, Nebuchadnezzar the Rapsaris, Nergal-Sharezer the Rabmag, along with all the other officials of the king of Babylon. When Zedekiah, king of Judah, and his remaining soldiers saw this, they ran for their lives. They slipped out at night on a path in the king's garden, through the gate between two walls, and headed for the wilderness, toward the Jordan Valley. The Babylonian army chased them and caught Zedekiah in the wilderness of Jericho. They seized him and took him to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, at Riblah in the country of Hamath. Nebuchadnezzar decided his fate. The king of Babylon killed all the sons of Zedekiah in Riblah right before his eyes, and then killed all the nobles of Judah. After Zedekiah had seen the slaughter, Nebuchadnezzar blinded him, chained him up, and then took him off to Babylon. Meanwhile, the Babylonians burned down the royal palace, the temple, and all the homes of the people. They leveled the walls of Jerusalem. Nebuzaradan, commander of the king's bodyguard, rounded up everyone left in the city, along with those who had surrendered to him, and herded them off to exile in Babylon. He didn't bother taking the few poor people who had nothing. He left them in the land of Judah to eke out a living as best they could in the vineyards and fields.